I almost wanted to keep the music playing. The hop. Today is October the 17th, 2025, and this is the third video in a series helping me promote the book and products in the book, health products that help either expand your health, your mind, body awareness. So the book title is 8 Steps to Awakening Your Highest Potential, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. But today we're going to talk about the Rebounder and the benefits and why the Rebounder is an amazing tool for mind, body, spirit health. But before we talk about that, I just want to do these videos. It takes me a while to catch my breath. Yesterday I talked about the blue light blocking glasses, and why is blue light not good for your body? Because it makes you fat and sick. And blue light is on your screens, on your phones, your TV, the LED lights in your apartment or in your house. There are LED lights on the poles now even. So, but I had a question about the blue light blocking glasses if you have prescription glasses or if you have reading glasses. So you can get clip-ons to go over your prescription glasses, or on that same website, Swanwick, you'll see that they have a particular brand. If you go down to the bottom of the website and click on prescriptions, and they have a particular model that goes on over your glasses. Now, when I first bought these, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I wasn't needing reading glasses. So what I do now, because I already have them, I just put them on over my reading glasses. And that seems to work pretty well. But they do have a special model or clip-ons, for those of you who are asking, that go over prescription or reading glasses. So that was yesterday's video. But why is the Rebounder so essential? Because it affects most systems. And I'm going to go through and just read out some of the benefits. So I first heard about this in 2000. I first bought mine in 2016, 17, when I was doing a certification, a functional neurology certification with Dr. Michael Hall. And he's excellent. So if any chiropractors are watching and you haven't done a course, you haven't done the neurological certification with Dr. Michael Hall, I highly suggest it. He's the brain DC, amazing. But he talked about it in the way that this is so important for balancing the nervous system, because it stimulates inner ear cells and little organelles that control vestibular function in your inner ear and your brainstem, cerebellum. So it actually improves neural communication, and that's why I had one for my clinic. So I had it in a corner of the clinic. When patients would come in, instead of waiting and sitting in the waiting room, they would go in and hop around on the Rebounder, or the mini trampoline, some people call it, because it improves neural communication. Because of that kind of acceleration and deceleration, it helps sync the different hemispheres in your brain. It supports mood and also cognition, because it increases oxygen. And I've only been on that, when I go on it, I don't do more than sort of 15 or 20 minutes. Even after 2 minutes, I'm really starting to sweat. So it's a great cardio workout, but it increases nitric oxide, it increases oxygen, it increases nutrition into your brain, so it improves mental clarity, focus, endorphins. It also might assist with neuroplasticity, or because of the rhythmic movements, forming new pathways. So in that way, it helps with trauma and injury and emotional traumas, let's say. The lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, right? You need to have skeletal muscle contraction in order to pump fluid around in your body, or else it will sit in places. Like if you're on a plane, right, your feet start to swell because you haven't been moving those muscles. So this is a great way to move that lymph circulation. And even if it's somebody that is disabled, there is an attachment, like a handle that you can put on it. So even if you're just standing on it and you're holding onto the handle and you're just moving up and down, so you don't have to do some crazy dancing moves like I was just doing there, but you can, be a little more gentle and cautious with it. So again, it helps stimulate immune function for that reason, because it helps pumps that lymph fluid around, right, into the lymph nodes and out of circulation and into out of the tissues, interstitial tissues, and back into circulation. Strengthens the bones. And NASA has done studies, if you trust that, but they say that this stimulates bone density better than running, and you don't get the injury and the repetitive strain on your joints. So it's a way for you to maintain your bone mass, you know, putting some stress on the bone. And you can pack it out and put it under your bed, right? I'm here in an apartment, but the legs twist off, and I can slide it under my bed or put it out in the garage. And then all winter, right, I have my home gym. But it protects your joints in that way. The muscles and fascia, so you're working the muscles, but also the fascia around the muscles and your core. So what are the core muscles? The core muscles are think about it as the muscles that hold the vertebrae together, really, and the pelvis. So this is looking at you from behind, and these blue things are the cervical vertebrae. This is your cranium or the back of your head, and these are the suboccipital muscles. So they attach from one bone to the other. So generally, these little multifidus muscle and rotatory muscles that hold the vertebrae together don't get a lot of movement don't get a lot of strengthening with bigger movements. They need little tiny movements. So when you're jumping on this rebounder or using a vibration plate, you're forcing those muscles to work to strengthen and hold you together, just like the muscles in the pelvis. So if we look up the pelvis, there's the tailbone, and there's usually a sheet of muscles that hold the pelvis together called the pelvic floor muscles from the inside. So after childbirth or women as they age, those pelvic muscles get weak, and you often get, prolapse or incontinence or things like that. So this rebounder stimulates, if you're someone who's incontinent, you kind of have to hold those pelvic muscles tight if you're jumping. And in that way, it encourages and strengthens the postural muscles and the pelvic floor muscles. So I don't always talk a lot about chiropractic because I've been decommissioned, but I love chiropractic. And I've been a chiropractic patient since I was 10, I think. And I still am adjusted every 2 weeks, and I love it, and I'd still be practicing had my license not been revoked for talking about shots. But chiropractic, I think, is an essential part of this evolution of our humanity. Why? Because it maintains a neutral nervous system. And our nervous system, or a functioning, let's say, a high-functioning nervous system, it's our nervous system how we perceive the environment. It's our brain and the position of our head that affects our perception of the universe. So even if I wasn't I'm not a chiropractor now, really, chiropractor by heart, but even if I hadn't had that training, I still think chiropractic is amazing. But I also seen in my 23 years of practice that if the muscles that are holding those joints aren't strong, then you can be adjusted 3 or 4 times a week for 40 years and the adjustments are not going to hold. So I think this rebounder, and again, the benefit of doing that course with Dr. Michael Hall, was that I learned a whole other level of neurology than what I did in my school, functional neurology and how to treat that. So chiropractic, I think, is an essential part of our evolution of our humanity too. The atlas and the brain stem, so important. Above, down, inside, out is a chiropractic philosophy. Excuse me, that holds true to me. So the cardiovascular respiratory system boosts circulation, increases oxygen uptake, regulates blood pressure because it increases oxygen and because it puts the lymph fluid back into circulation. But energetically and emotionally, this also has a benefit. When you ground and then you're uplifted and then you ground and you're uplifted, you're stimulating your root chakra and then your crown chakra and your root and your crown. So for those yogis, you might call it Kundalini energy. if you're an astrotheologist like Santos Bonacci, you might think about it as Christos or Christ, Christos energy coming up the, Jacob's ladder. If you're into tantric, you might look at again as a tantric practice for cosmic connection with sex and orgasm, all different ways of saying the same thing, but liberating energy from your root to your crown chakra. And this helps with that because you get that bounce, or you get that rhythmic movement, the stimulation or harmonizing from root to crown. And then that rhythmic motion also releases stored energy in the tissues. And in my book, there's a whole section on trauma release and how different emotions get trapped in different tissues, and some exercises and ways that you can liberate that, because that may be a place where you get stuck and you can't move beyond that level of that dimension, let's say, while you're being held in sort of that physical, emotional cage. So this is a way to release emotional trauma. And you really can't, I mean, it elevates mood and vibration, right? You really can't, or I really can't jump on that and not smile, right? It's just like it enhances joy in your body. So I love it for that reason too. It loosens up your tensions and your stresses and your density, and increases cellular coherence, because in those little moments where you're weightless, it's a kind of joyful feeling of lightness. So anyway, I don't know if I've sold you on the Rebounder or not, but I've been using it for more than 10 years. I love it, and I think it's great for many different reasons. In my clinic, we used to have the kids would all go in and patients would line up to go on it, and it was just amazing. So I love the Rebounder. And on the product guide, that you can have if you email me, dr.denagc@gmail.com. You can email me and I will send you the product guide that has a list of, I don't know, more than 20 different products. So like the things that I've talked about already, but also many different other products, and give you the website for that, and also my references for the book. So the book is supposed to come out in 3 weeks, but if you're emailing me and you're in that inner book circle, there may be some other, let's say, perks. I may have a few digital copies to, share with people who want to help me promote and that sort of thing. So if you email me, I'll send you the information and the product guide, and then when the book comes out, you'll be the first to be notified, and maybe even some special promotions, let's say, once you're in that inner circle. So yesterday, excuse me, I mentioned about different books that I've really been blessed to be a part of, different projects. So I just want to do a shout out to that first, and then I'll talk just a little bit about the book before I close out. But these are authors, people that have put together books. So Liz Anderson Peacock, Dr. Liz Anderson Peacock, chiropractor. It wasn't 52 chiropractors, it was 19 chiropractors from around the world. And many of them are my mentors. Dr. Anderson, Dr. Liz being one of them, and Dr. Jeannie Ohm, some of the people that were in this book. Pearls of Wisdom, Pure and Powerful, are passed on now, but there's over 400 years of practice experience in this book. So, I was really honored and learned a lot from those wonderful women. And then also, The Gift to the Hit was another book that I wrote a chapter in with Peter Davis and Jocelyn Duffy, and all these wonderful authors from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Brave, Courage During COVID, I mentioned that one with Alani Gilera, forward by Susan Stanfield. But she also has a whole series of books, a Brave series. And again, I was really grateful to have a chapter in that book. This was one of the first books that I was asked to write a chapter in. This was a really amazing experience for me. The Thought That Changed Your Life Forever. This is where the 52 authors were. And my little chapter was sort of tucked away between Joe Dispenza, if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza, neuroscientist, previous chiropractor, and also Bernie Siegel. And they were both mentors that I knew before I took part in this big project. And Dr. Bernie Siegel, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, he wrote that book. He was an oncologist. Again, just a brilliant man. He was listed as one of the 20 top spiritually aware people in the world or something. So again, just being part of this project and being part of group conversations, I learned a lot from these guys. Ted Kuntz was also in this book. I didn't even know Ted then, you know, who's Ted of Vaccine Choice Canada. But The Thought That Changed Your Life Forever, this became an Amazon bestseller. So this was an amazing, it's a great book with a lot of good information in it. And then this was the first book that I ever wrote. Small, little, thin little book, but thank you to Lizzie, Dr. Lizzie, who's a chiropractor, who published this. She had a publishing company called International Health Publishing. And I met her at a chiropractic conference, and I was telling her about, you know, my little writing, and she said, "Why don't you publish it?" So it was her who encouraged me with this first book. And thank you, Lizzie. Thank you for, you know, pushing me to kind of get it out there. So I have a little bit of writing experience, but really it's being in those circles with other authors and listening and feeling that vibration is really helped me, I think, put together this book. And you'll see, if you connect with me, you'll get the reference guide that you can see what references I used. And the book is really, this new book, 8 Steps to Awakening Your Highest Potential, is my experience, research, and also what I feel like an inspired vision that I was given to write this book. So it's kind of a spiritual guide for our times and the times that we're in. It's a map and a mirror, both, for the humanity's awakening. And it blends sacred wisdom, astrology, modern metaphysical science. It also offers practical and then mystical pathways to activate intuition, to stimulate healing and divine remembrance. So it draws from different studies that I've researched in Christianity, in Judaism, in Egyptian symbology and sound healing, clan mother documents, teachings of Jesus, Sophia, Mary Magdalene, Edgar Cayce. I know, that's a real lineup, right? It's like the Motley Crew, as Bobby would say. But this book really puts together a lot of different philosophies and reveals how pain and resistance and crisis often conceal the keys to your evolution. So it calls readers to rise beyond the duality, right and wrong, left and right, yin and yang, rising beyond that to reclaim your sovereignty, and then participate consciously in the ascension of our humanity. So I have a question. I asked this yesterday, but what if the life you've been living is only half the story? And the real awakening for you is just waiting for you, like just beyond what you've been taught to see. You know, all you would need then is just to pull back the curtain a little bit, like put a little crack in the dam, and then, right? You're having all this cosmic knowledge and wisdom and psychic abilities sort of come to you, right? Once you can just open up the curtain just that much. So in the first chapter that talks about remembrance, I ask a question. I'm going to ask it here too. Who would you be today if you had a different mother? I don't know if my mother's listening or not. I don't see her here. Who would you be if you had a different mother? See, many of the people that I've coached and treated over the years, people that are still in blame and shame for something that happened in their childhood, can't ever move beyond it. It's still like that emotion captures you. And the first relationship, the relationship that you have with your mother, is an important one. You know, that's where you learn the divine feminine, which is what the sun is, what the moon is, what the earth is, the divine feminine. So if you have some emotion or you're still blaming, right, an external source for who you are, it holds you back. So starting with that first chapter, we kind of invite you right, to dig a little deeper and to find gratitude in everything that's happened to you in your life up to this point. And what you can't be grateful for is the level which you're caught in that matrix. So it's a book that I hope that will be out in about 3 weeks. It will offer, like I said, practical tools like a rebounder, like blue light blocking glasses, like looking back at your circumstance and finding gratitude in it. You know, very simple things that make profound changes in, again, your awakening your intuition, your psychic abilities, and your cosmic awareness. So I would love to hear from you. Like I said, the book is not just words. It's more like a transmission of light. And each step, each chapter, is an activation, an invitation for you to remember who you truly are. So again, if you're interested in that product guide or my resource list, you can email me, dr.denagc@gmail.com. I'll attach it to this video and I'll be happy to send that out. You'll be in the inner circle then, so when the book comes out, you'll be first to know. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments here, but thank you. I see a lot of people here. I'll come back and answer some questions, but I love you guys. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot, and thank you for the feedback that I've gotten on the videos. I think, you know, it's just great to have fun, isn't it? You know, to be together and to be light and, you know, share love and laughter is really part, I think, of that enlightening process. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Reach for the stars. Envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina signing out.